Hello, my name is Katie. I am a Western tropical astrologer and life coach, and we are going to talk about the Penumbral Lunar Eclipse coming up in Libra on March 25th. Now, before we kind of dive into a little bit of an update, just a little quick disclaimer. I am a Western tropical astrologer. I use the whole house system, so your rising sign is going to rule your first house, and my update is going to be kind of talking about that based on the assumption that you're using that kind of system. Another disclaimer, my baby is sleeping, so if she wakes up, I'm going to just have to cut this short. I really didn't think I was going to have time to do this update, to be honest with you. My baby is 6 months old, and I'm processing a lot of childhood trauma, which, if you know, bubbles up a lot when you have a small child. And also, I don't want to repeat a lot of that trauma. I don't want to be staring at my phone or be working on my computer constantly when it is my time to be with her. However, I was listening to one of my favorite astrologers, Heather Ensworth, and the reason I love her so much is she has a background in clinical psychology, particularly was very interested in narcissistic abuse. And if you're familiar with my work, you know that narcissistic abuse is really the reason that I started everything with my business. And then once I realized that there was this connection in my astrology and my birth chart to what was happening in my current life with estrangement from my family of origin, just all these difficulties, everything kind of made sense. And it was a lot more digestible knowing that there really wasn't anything I could do to kind of change, I guess, what was. So, speaking of being unable to change things that just happen to be, we are in eclipse season, and eclipse season is really that time period where it's that game changer energy that's active. So this is really when we see a lot of people announce marriages, divorces, births of new babies. We see, unfortunately, some losses. We do see some deaths. We see new jobs. We see people moving like across country. We see a lot of big life changing things happening, and that's because that eclipse energy is kind of like the universe saying, I've seen you walking down this path, but I need you to be over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick you up and plop you over here. So that's kind of what I mean. Like, this stuff can come out of nowhere. Um, just for an example, in a previous eclipse that was really activating my chart, because not every eclipse will activate everyone's charts equally. I had lost my job, my apartment flooded, and that was essentially how I ended up from the East Coast to the West Coast, which is really where I always wanted to be. And then when I started diving into my chart more, I saw that there was these eclipse axis lighting up my home and living situation at that time. Also, I noticed after doing astrocartography, which is kind of looking at geographically how your chart lights up based on where you are living or where you're traveling, I found out that the more I moved east from my birth location, my hometown of Minneapolis, the further I moved east from that, the more difficult these challenges in my chart became. So moving to the West Coast was not just something that, was something that I saw on TV I wanted to do. Like, there was something within my energetic core that was like, you must move west, girlfriend. So the penumbral lunar eclipse coming up on March 25th is happening at 12 a.m. Pacific time, and it's going to last about 13 minutes. So, like I said, this is an eclipse, and this is a lunar eclipse, meaning this is a full moon, not a new moon. So the moon is going to be at 5 degrees, 13 minutes of Libra. And like I said, it's going to last about 13 minutes. If you are a Pisces, Virgo, Taurus, or Scorpio rising or sun in particular, you, I think, are really going to benefit the most from this full moon. If you are a Leo, Aquarius, Sagittarius, or a Gemini rising or sun, I think you're going to find that this is maybe not the easiest time in your life, but it's not as turbulent as it is for other people. If you're a Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, or Libra rising or sun, I think that this is going to be the most challenging for you. And when I say challenging, I don't think that challenging is necessarily a bad thing. Um, I think it's just going to be challenging in the sense of you're probably going to feel the most like things are not in your control. You're going to feel like you're having to surrender perhaps more than other people to things that you maybe particularly don't really want to. The penumbral lunar eclipse, the penumbral part means that in the moon's proximity, or like the distance between the moon and the earth, when the moon is in the earth's shadow and we have that eclipse, penumbral means it's the furthest it could be away while being like closest. So it's going to be a more potent full moon than a regular full moon because it is part of the eclipse, but it's not going to be the most powerful like eclipse full moon that there could be, if that makes any sense. So this eclipse is going to be activating the 5 degrees of Libra and Aries in particular, and the nodal axis shifted from Taurus-Scorpio to Aries-Libra last year. So I was looking, and because we're on the nodal axis and we are having this eclipse, activating the nodal axis, I wanted to see when that was going to hit. So we're actually going to, the nodes are going to move to 5 degrees of Aries and Libra later this year. So if you don't actually experience anything around the time of this eclipse, the week before, the week during, the week after, come back to what was going on around between August and November of this year, because I think that you might realize looking back, like, oh, now I see, yes, something did happen. The Penumbral Lunar Eclipse is part of Saros Series 113. When we have an eclipse in the same Saros series, it means that there's a similar experience going on. So the first of this series happened in May 1501, and it will actually end, the series will complete in 2150. But prior to this Penumbral Lunar Eclipse on March 25th, we had an eclipse on the Saros series on March 14th, 2006. So you're going to want to look and see what was going on in your life in 2006, so like March, spring 2006. Also look back what was going on in your life around October 14th, 2023. Because like I said, this is a full moon in a sense, and it's not operating like a traditional full moon where we can look back at what were we, focusing on, what were we manifesting 6 months ago, and we can apply that to what is going to be coming up for us around the time of the full moon when those seeds that we planted at the new moon will be culminating. So but like I said, there is some of that energy picking up from that though, and that's when we had the annual solar eclipse. That new moon in Libra was October 14th, 2023. So look around what was happening in your life around October 14th, 2023, and that solar eclipse was tied to a Saros series that happened in October 2005. So look around what was happening in your life between 2005, like fall 2005, spring 2006, and then also what was going on in your life really between 2014 and 2016, particularly 2016, because I think something similar might happen again. Geographically, if you are going to be in Europe, particularly Eastern Europe, Eastern Africa, the Middle East, Asia, and Western Australia, you're going to feel the effects of this eclipse the most because it's going to be traveling over those geographic areas. What else? What else do I want to say about this? This eclipse is going to be kicking off eclipse season, but then we have a really, really, really potent new moon, a total solar eclipse coming up in Aries that we're going to talk about a lot more because that one's really going to be powerful, especially if you are living in the United States, because it's going to go right over the United States. Let's see. If you want a more personalized forecast, you can always check out my services for the various readings that I offer at elevatedaura.com. And I'm going to upload a little bit more about this eclipse in a part 2 coming soon.